My name is Ethan Caldwell, and for the last 8 years, I've lived in what was supposed to be my quiet corner of Willow Ridge Estates, a gated community just outside Raleigh. I bought the oversized lot at the end of the cul-de-sac because it backed up to a thick stand of pines and came with an extra half-acre that the developer had left undeveloped. That sliver of land was the reason I paid a premium. Privacy, space for a workshop, maybe a small pond one day. The deed was clear. The survey stakes were clear. Everything was clear until the Willow Ridge Homeowners Association decided it wasn't. It started innocently enough. In the spring of 2024, I noticed orange spray paint and survey flags popping up along the tree line behind my fence. I figured it was Duke Energy checking lines or the county doing something routine. Then one Saturday morning, a white pickup with Willow Ridge HOA stenciled on the door parked back there, and a crew in matching polo shirts started clearing brush. I walked out with a cup of coffee and asked what was going on. Community Gazebo Project, the foreman said, barely looking up. Approved by the board last month. On whose property? I asked. He pointed vaguely toward the trees. Common area. I laughed because it wasn't funny and went inside to dig out my plat map. The pins were exactly where I remembered them. That half-acre was mine, recorded, taxed to me, mowed by me every summer. I emailed the HOA president, Karen Whitlock, attaching the survey and asking for clarification. Her reply came 2 days later, a single sentence. The board has determined that parcel was erroneously excluded from common area designation in 2008. We are correcting the record. No citation, no documentation, just a declaration. I called a real estate attorney the next morning. He told me this was classic HOA overreach. They'd probably found an old ambiguous map and decided to claim the land for a community enhancement that would raise property values and their own egos. He sent a certified cease-and-desist letter. Work stopped for 3 weeks. Then, in July, the crew came back, this time with concrete forms and lumber. They poured a foundation overnight. By the time I woke up, there were footings and framed walls going up on my land. I called the county. They said the HOA had pulled a permit listing the address as Common Area, Willow Ridge Park Expansion. I drove to the planning department myself. The clerk shrugged. If the applicant says it's common area, we don't survey every lot line. That's between neighbors. Neighbors. As if an HOA is a neighbor. My attorney filed for an emergency injunction. The judge set a hearing 3 months out. Meanwhile, the little gazebo kept growing. It wasn't a gazebo anymore. It was a full 800-square-foot structure with plumbing rough-ins, electrical, and a pitched roof. Basically a clubhouse they were calling a multi-purpose pavilion. They even installed air conditioning units. Every time I looked out my back windows, there was bright, white hardy plank glaring through the trees, mocking me. I posted photos in the neighborhood Facebook group asking if anyone else thought this was insane. The post was deleted in minutes. Karen sent me a violation notice for defamation of the association. My annual dues jumped 15% the next month, supposedly for enhanced amenities. By October, the building was finished. They strung fairy lights, put out Adirondack chairs, and held a ribbon-cutting barbecue. Half the neighborhood showed up. Kids ran around on my grass while board members toasted our beautiful new gathering space. I stood at my fence taking video until Karen spotted me and threatened to call the police for harassment. That night, I sat in my workshop with a beer and stared at the survey pinned to the wall. The pins were still there. I'd walked the line a dozen times. The building sat 22 feet inside my property line. I could have waited for the court date. I could have played nice and let the legal system grind its slow gears. But every morning I woke up to that illegal clubhouse squatting on my land, and something inside me snapped. I spent 2 weeks planning. I talked to contractors off the record. I rented equipment under my LLC. I waited for the perfect window, the weekend after Thanksgiving, when half the neighborhood leaves for the mountains and Karen always goes to her sisters in Charlotte. Friday night, November 28th, 2025, the temperature dropped to 28 degrees. The streets were empty. At 2 a.m., 2 flatbed trucks and a tracked excavator rolled quietly into my driveway. I'd paid in cash and signed ironclad NDAs. By 3 a.m., we'd cut the power feed to the building. By 4 o'clock, the fairy lights were down and the AC units were on the flatbed. By 5 o'clock, the excavator had bitten into the roof like it was cardboard. We worked fast and methodical. Roof first, then walls, then foundation. Everything separated, stacked, and hauled to a salvage yard 40 miles away before sunrise. I kept the debris minimal. No fires, no mess. Just a flat, clean rectangle of bare earth where the clubhouse used to be. I even raked it and threw down grass seed. Saturday morning, I drank coffee on my back porch and watched the sun come up over my land. My whole land again. The screaming started around 9. Karen came flying down the street in her Lexus, still in pajamas, hair in rollers. She stood at the edge of the former foundation and shrieked my name loud enough to wake half the cul-de-sac. Phones came out. Videos were taken. Someone called the sheriff. Deputies arrived, took statements, looked at my survey, looked at the empty spot, and left with a shrug. Civil matter, they said. By Monday, the HOA's emergency special assessment hit every mailbox for $1,200 per household to cover vandalism losses and legal fees. My copy came with a post-it from Karen. See you in court. They sued me in January 2026 for $187,000. Construction costs, emotional distress to the community, punitive damages, the works. They claimed the land was theirs all along, that I'd committed criminal mischief, trespass, everything they could throw. Discovery was delicious. My attorney subpoenaed every document the HOA had ever filed on the parcel. Turns out they had nothing. No corrected deed, no adverse possession claim, no vote record transfer in the land. Just a single blurry 2008 site plan that some intern had highlighted wrong 15 years ago. The permit they pulled? Based entirely on that mistake. The contractor they hired testified under oath that Karen personally told him, "Don't worry about the survey. We're fixing the records later." The judge granted summary judgment in my favor in March. Not only did the HOA lose, they were ordered to pay my legal fees and record a corrective deed confirming my boundary forever. Karen resigned the next week. The special assessment was refunded. Half the board quit. Property values didn't plummet like they feared. Turns out nobody missed the ugly white box in the woods. I built my workshop on that half-acre last summer. It's had a big window facing the pines, a mini split for AC, and a covered porch with Adirondack chairs I bought secondhand. Sometimes neighbors walk by and stop to chat. A few even apologized. Most just nod and keep moving. Karen moved to Florida. I still get Christmas cards from her replacement. Polite, professional, careful. And every time I sit on my porch at dusk, watching the trees I fought for, I raise my coffee mug to the empty spot.